Thanks for listening to FYI Stillwater, where you will hear information about your local government you didn't know you need to know, straight from the source. Be sure to check out other news and information from the City of Stillwater at stillwater.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter. Hi, I'm your host, Sherry Fletcher, Director of Marketing and Civic Engagement. Today, my co-host is Paula Dennison. Hey, Paula.
How you doing, Sherry?
Pretty good. Is there a song called Hey, Paula?
Yes.
Do you get that all the time?
All the time.
I bet you do.
Don't ask Steve Daniel.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah. He'll sing it on the radio to me.
Can you sing it?
Yes.
Go ahead.
No.
Why not? I bet you know all the words.
No. I stay
don't?
away from it.
Do you hate that song?
Yes.
Yeah. It's
I
like
do.
the Four Seasons, Oh Sherry. I don't really care for that song, but I'm pretty sure my mother liked it, is what I'm guessing.
Probably.
I'm just guessing.
Yeah. I can see that.
Okay. Well, who's our guest today, Paula?
You know, from the police department, we are so honored to have Assistant Chief Shannon Jordan with us today.
All right. So what are we going to be talking about?
We're going to talk about all kinds of things police department related.
We have no barriers today, right?
We have no barriers today.
All right. I kind of like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Me too.
Shannon, welcome to our show.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We're going to start you like we do everyone else. We're going to do a lightning round, and Paula's going to ask the questions. Go for it, Paula.
So I've got 2 questions, and then I have a surprise
I love
that Shannon does not know about.
Oh, no.
So everybody
The look on his face.
I know. And unfortunately, this is just audio, so there's no visual. And that will, you really have to see this surprise to participate.
my.
But I'm sure everybody can pick up on it after they hear your expression.
Oh, my.
Okay.
Go
So,
for it.
question 1. Have you seen anything lately that made you smile?
Yes.
What?
Oh, you want me to answer? Okay.
Oh, it's going to be a long day, folks.
I'll tell you.
We're family here.
The thing that makes me smile is when we get compliments on other police officers or letters of commendation from citizens. And lately, surprisingly, with all the things that's been going on, we get a lot of those. And so I smile a lot because I love seeing our officers do good. I love the fact that this community appreciates what we do and respects us, and we don't take that for granted. We're going to keep doing what we do, and we're going to earn it every day.
And I'm glad you said that because y'all are so great about sharing those positives with everybody on the force, civilian and
Yeah,
you know,
we think
and
that's
you
very
even share it with
important.
management also. So that's a good thing.
And we think it's very important to give people their deserved recognition for when they go above and beyond and do more than is required or more that's what is being done in other places.
Okay, so now for the surprise.
Oh, yeah.
So I was doing a little cleaning in the office the other day, and I came across this that I've had for a while. And walking in here today, I thought, oh, this reminds me so much of Assistant Chief Shannon Jordan.
Oh, let's see it.
It resembles several of us, actually, in the city of Stillwater.
So for everybody listening, it's a Woolly Willy. It's the little one with the magnet and the metallic charcoal that you pull up and you make his hair and his beard.
That's so funny.
And now everybody will have to look up a picture of Assistant Police Chief Shannon Jordan to see how he resembles Woolly Willy.
We're going to have to do all the police hairstyles that have been mentioned on this podcast.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
We've got quite a few. We've got the rat tail and the mullet, and now we got Woolly Willy. Oh, my goodness. Okay, let's go to the basic facts about the police department. What do you have?
So a couple of things that I don't know how many folks out there know, but our police department does so many things throughout our community and the organization itself. So a couple of things, you can get a copy of your police report if you need one. The police offer a Citizens Academy, and I'm sure that Assistant Chief Jordan can talk a little bit more of that as we get into this. Animal welfare is housed in the police department. So is code enforcement. So if you have a dilapidated house or high grass and weeds, something like that, that's housed in the police department. So is parking enforcement. That's through the police department. So it's not just officers who are out writing speeding tickets or chasing armed robbers or murderers or, any of that type stuff. There's so many other additional community service functions that they perform
Right.
through the police department. They do have officers on 24-hour-a-day patrol. Our Central Communications Division and Detention Center are operational 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And they also have plainclothes and undercover police officers. So Assistant Chief Jordan can talk more about how many different functions
Yeah, all
are
the different
located
functions.
in the police department. But I thought it was very interesting. If nobody knows, if somebody says police department and they just think,
Patrol officers.
right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Because that's what they see. Well, let's just jump into our conversation here with Shannon. So, to start off with, what was your career path? How did you end up an officer, and what's going on in your world?
I was a military brat growing up. My dad was in the Marine Corps. He he was a flight engineer on C-130s. And I remember when I was a small child in El Toro Marine Air Base in California, I'd go to work with him sometimes while they were working on aircraft and stuff. And across the flight line, they'd have the Cobra attack helicopters. And I just thought, that's what I'm going to be.
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
going to
I
be a
would
helicopter
too.
pilot. I'm going to join the Marines, and I'm going to fly Cobra helicopters. And then I found out that I was blind. And I was legally blind. My eyesight was so bad. And now I got the can't see far away and can't see up close. So
Oh,
I
me
got the
too.
progressive lenses and everything. So, but anyway, that's why I didn't become a helicopter pilot. So my next choice was police officer, because I've always wanted to serve. I've spent 29 and a half years in the Army National Guard. I joined when I was a junior in high school as a military policeman because I ultimately wanted to be a police officer. I went to college, got a degree in criminal justice, became an officer in the National Guard, and continued both careers. I started out at Ada Police Department, and then in 1992 I came here to Stillwater, and I've been here ever since. I've done everything in patrol mainly, all the different shifts. I was a motorcycle officer for 9 years total. I was the firearms training coordinator. I was on a sniper on the SWAT team. And so I've done multiple things within the department. And had the opportunity about 2 years ago to apply for chief of police. And within the police department, I don't have any administrative background, but because of my military experience, I retired from the National Guard as a lieutenant colonel. So I have about 25 years of administrative or leadership experience in the National Guard. And so I had asked the city manager if my qualifications would meet the criteria for applying, and he agreed that they would, and I was welcome to apply. And so I applied for the position of chief of police, and I guess I did pretty good because I did not get promoted to chief of police, but they decided to make a second position of assistant chief of police, so I went from patrolman to assistant chief of police, which I don't think that's very common. So I'm very honored to be in this position, and I take it very seriously, and want to make the most of it, and I work hard every day to take care of the officers of the Stillwater Police Department and make sure that they have everything that I always wanted when I was a patrolman not too long ago. I want the equipment to do my job, I want the training to do my job, and I want the support from my leaders to do my job, and so we try every day to give them that.
Shannon is another one. We've had so many folks in here on these podcasts that have been here 20, 30, pushing
Right.
40 years. And the opportunity for advancement within this organization is unlike just about anywhere else that you could go.
Right. Yeah, because there are career paths.
Yeah, there are. Yeah, and he's an example of it. And you never know what may be out there that you might not be really having in your vision shooting for, but all of a sudden something can pop up and you just fit right into it.
So what's a typical day like for you?
Well, most of the day is meetings.
Now
Whether-
that you're a
Now that I'm in an administrative position as the
I was going
assistant
to say
chief.
bureaucrat, but
Yeah. But, and a lot of it is meetings, just, we have to check our schedule every day
Yeah.
and all week long and fit meetings in, see where we have an empty space and stuff to have meetings, but they're productive meetings. They're meetings where we look at policy, managerial, administrative, things on how we can improve the department or identifying future problems that maybe not be a problem yet, but we see based on significant events in the world right now. If this was to happen to us, would we be prepared? Would we be able to handle this? And so we like to be forward-thinking, and we like to plan ahead and be prepared for anything, have every contingency covered. And that's one of the things I kind of specialize in as my job as assistant chief. I'm kind of the planner, and do organizing and sharpshooting, basically, potential problems and coming up with solutions to those before they happen and making sure we're prepared for anything. And we have the equipment or the manpower, the means, and the training to take on any task that might come up right now.
so do you have a personality trait that you just see potential problems constantly? You see the worst in a situation and anticipate it?
I do. A lot of it's through my military
Yeah.
experience and being a leader in the military and all the training I've received. That's just how my brain works now. I'm always in that kind of, a lot of people say, what if,
Right.
if, and I kind of say, if then. And not
Yeah.
what if it happens, but, or when this happens, then we will do this. And I always look at things. And again, I'm big on world news, national news, stuff like that. I'm a big news person. I believe we learn from history, and if we don't, we're going to repeat it. And so I'm always watching what has happened in the past, what is happening now in other areas, because if it's happening in other areas, it could happen here. And so I always watch the news closely and make sure that we are covered for any of those problems, so we don't have to repeat them where things have happened and tragedies have happened in other places.
And we've been overly fortunate that those things are not concentrating here in Oklahoma and specifically in Stillwater.
Yes, and again, a lot of it is because the way I believe that Stillwater Police Department and the City of Stillwater employees treat the community. And I think we've earned that, and that's why we've avoided a lot of those problems. I know Paula was involved with me and Melissa Reams and numerous personnel in our department. We had a planned protest scheduled during the height of the George Floyd incidents and others around the nation, and so they wanted to have a protest here, and so we called them in. We met with the protest organizers, said, what can we do for you to make sure you have a safe protest? We set up barricades for them so there was no risk of them getting run over. We gave them loudspeakers, microphones, made sure they had food, lots of water. We had ambulance on standby in case anybody went down from a heat injury or any other type of injury. And at the same time, we made plans based on everybody else's handling of riots and stuff like that. And we made our own plans that was kind of opposite of that. We didn't come out there in riot gear. We didn't stand, with batons and riot shields.
Because the officers were out there amongst the people who showed up, just having conversations.
Yeah, that's what we wanted. We were not going to escalate it. We were not going to show up, with the armored tanks and stuff for what might happen. We were prepared for what might happen, but we weren't showing our hand.
Right.
And we came out and we let them decide what kind of protest or free speech event we was going to have. And fortunately, it went very well. We hit that one out of the park, and it was a huge success. And everybody got to have their opportunity to express their rights as a citizen of the United States, and everything went well. And there were even a lot of people from out of state that showed up to this event planning on having a violent protest.
Right.
And when they saw it wasn't a violent protest, they turned around and left. And they said, well, this is not what I came here for, and That was
That's
not what they
amazing,
expected.
isn't
It is.
Yeah, and so they left.
But it does go to say so much about the relationship that the police department has with the community and the respect both ways.
And that's what I told our officers after it was over. I thanked every one of them for the hard work we've done in the past to make this possible, because the reason we were successful that day was because of the way we treated people in the past and the way we treated people that day. And I said, that's why we were successful in that. In every case, when the speakers got up there to talk, they could talk about things that are happening all over the United States. They did not have one incident
They did not.
for
did
Stillwater,
they?
Oklahoma. And they even would preface it with, although it hasn't happened here, this is what's going on everywhere else. And so we've been very fortunate. We strive every day to treat everybody consistently and evenly. We don't judge people on their race or color or what they do for a living or anything. If you commit a crime, you'll probably draw our attention and you will get to meet some of us. And unfortunately, there are consequences to all actions and stuff. Some of them are not pleasant. Sometimes you have to, be held accountable for your actions. And sometimes that's not pleasant. But we try to keep it positive, and we try to treat everybody the same, and we try to make so that it's a learning environment, and people go on, they make mistakes, they go on, they rise above it, and they go on to be productive citizens.
One of the things that when we had Police Chief Watts in here in a podcast one day, he was explaining to us on the podcast how long the hiring and training process is for the officers that come on board.
Yes.
And, y'all invest over a year, up to 18 months or so of time into individuals. And it's not just so they can go out there and write somebody a ticket or carry a gun. It's that relationship building that is such a strong component of it. And just your example of the peaceful protest we had, that just goes to prove how well it works here.
Yeah, and we spend, a lot, as you said, we spend a lot of time cultivating. We hire great people to begin with. We look for only the best candidates and stuff, and the people who have great character and a good moral compass to start out. And then we groom them basically from that point on to make them even better and to instill our ideals and our morals, our standards, our very high standards, and we show them the why. This is why we do this. This is why we want you to be like this and stuff. This is why it's important and stuff like that. And we try to build that team, into everybody to where every officer feels that they are part of the organization, and they are responsible for our success or failure. They have ownership in this, the police department. We are one big family, and we are one big team, and it takes everybody to work together. As I say, we don't have any bench warmers in the Stillwater Police Department. Everybody plays. Everybody's first string. Everybody matters, and everybody has to work hard every day.
Well, Paula earlier alluded to a lot of the different departments housed within the police department. Do you want to walk us through a couple of those?
Sure.
Of what maybe people don't see, or what they don't, or some of the things that they don't realize the officers are actually doing.
Right. Well, we have civilians and sworn officers, so we have dispatchers that dispatch the calls. They answer the phones. They take calls from citizens, and they also, as well as having to dispatch for the police department, they have to dispatch for the fire department and animal welfare, and they have to transfer calls to LifeNet, emergency calls that come through 911 for LifeNet, and everything in between. A lot of it not even police related, but when people don't know what to do, what do? You call the police. And so they deal with all that. So they're very hardworking individuals, and we really appreciate them for the job they do. Then we have our records clerks that manage all the paperwork that is generated through the police department from reports to filing of affidavits to tickets. Have detention operations, which is our jailers. We run a 10-day holding facility capable of holding up to 57 prisoners. And so we have a very understaffed jail that's just barely makes minimum on a good day. But
And COVID is not helping.
yeah, COVID has not been kind
Been
to
our
us.
friend.
Yeah, and so it's been a very big challenge. And Payne County has also experienced that. Every place is experiencing that. Of course, anytime you have lots of people housed in one facility and you have something like COVID, it's going to affect everybody. It's going to affect those facilities, and it affects jails and prisons pretty hard too. And then it affects the workers there also. But we have a detention operations. We have a property unit that handles all the property that we take in, whether it's lost property or evidence, physical evidence of
Like
crimes.
marijuana.
And yeah, we have a lot of marijuana.
We can smell it when y'all have brought a fresh load in.
When I was on light duty
Comes
one
up the
time,
staircase.
It does, yeah.
when I was on light duty one time, I had to work for 4 months down in property, updating some systems and stuff and trying to get rid of a lot of the property that is no longer needs to be held. That smell permeates everything you own and stays in your nose hairs for about 2 days, and it's hard to get rid of.
That's funny. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it is funny when you walk into City Hall and it's like, who is that?
But we also have code enforcement that falls under us. Some of them were retired police officers, some of them were civilians, and they previously fell under a different department within the city of Stillwater, and now they're under the police department, and they basically go out and enforce laws or respond to calls for code in violations, people not mowing their yards or the right-of-ways, trash in their yards, abandoned vehicles. And what keeps them busy most of the time is a lot of these old dilapidated homes that are not safe or fit to live in or don't have electricity and running water and stuff, and getting them and doing the paperwork to where we can get rid of those houses and clean up some parts of Stillwater stuff and making it more safer for the rest of the community.
And there's a lot of paperwork that's involved in something like that, because unfortunately, it does end up a lot of times the city having to take down those dilapidated structures. Well, that was somebody's home.
Right. There's so much going on in the police department. We probably should have you back to walk us through some more departments.
Sure. Yeah, we can cover patrol next time. I know I
that
didn't
would
get
be
to
a
I'm
whole-
still on the civilians part of it,
Yeah,
but again,
that's-
then we have patrol.
We should. We'll come back
and
and do patrol.
numerous
Do you
different
still
things
have
in patrol.
horses?
I'm sorry?
Horses?
No, we don't. We did have a mounted unit, and it was pretty active during things like the Christmas parade and homecoming parade, and also when we had Joe's Weekend still.
Yeah.
The horses were very valuable to us. There's nothing that goes through a crowd like horses. When you can't get 10 feet through a crowd, just walk behind a horse, and it's like parting in the Red Sea.
Wow.
Everybody gets out of the horse's way. So they were a great tool to have.
We'll come you back and we'll talk about patrol, because I think that's a whole podcast by itself. All right. Well, thank you so much for being our guest today.
Thank you.
All right. So the city receives a lot of questions through email, Facebook, sometimes they even call us. Today's first question came through email, and they said, how do I request a stop sign in my neighborhood?
You know, that's a really good question.
And a lot
we
of
have
people
it.
want it.
Yeah, quite often
Yeah.
we have that. So there's a form on the city website, stillwater.org is where you can go.
Keyword search, stop sign.
Keyword search stop sign.
Yes.
Yes,
And
thank
it'll
you.
call up the form.
And it will bring up the form, and you just fill it out, and it goes to the folks who will then take it. They'll go out, they'll do a site inspection. There's some criteria that we evaluate by, and then they'll get back with you on the determination.
So question number 2, this one didn't come from a particular person, but it is like the conversation everywhere is, what do we do about trick-or-treating this year during the pandemic?
Fortunately, trick-or-treating is not legislated by the city.
Right. It's
So-
just it's a community tradition.
Yes, we are not having our traditional Halloween fest downtown.
Mummy and Sons.
We're not having Mummy and Son, no. So those were decisions made for the safety and security of our citizens and our employees.
Right.
But the CDC does have guidelines for any Halloween-related activities.
What are
so
those?
if you want to go trick-or-treating, they want you to wear your mask. Try not to handle things. Take hand sanitizer with you. If you're going in groups, try and stay 6 feet apart as you
Yeah.
can. Take all of the standard precautionary measures.
Yeah.
However, they recommend, instead of trick-or-treating, they recommend getting together with your family in your household unit, carve a pumpkin, popcorn, and make popcorn balls and sit around and drink hot chocolate and eat your popcorn balls while you're watching a scary movie or something.
Yeah, this year just calls for people to do things a little bit different, and hopefully next year we will be back to traditional Halloween. Well, thanks for being my co-host again, Paula.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks for listening to FYI Stillwater. If you like this episode, help us out and give us a like or share us with your friends.
Stay tuned for our next podcast.
If you have a question for City Hall, email news@stillwater.org, and in the next podcast, we'll answer a few of them. FYI Stillwater is available on our website at stillwater.org, Spotify, and just about anywhere else you enjoy your podcast.